All right, B-listers, you know the drill.
This is your official spoiler alert for the episode.
If you don't want any spoilers, stop the episode now.
And if you don't care about spoilers, hold on to your seats because this episode starts
now. Hello, fellow B-listers.
Hi, welcome to the bcriticspodcast. We're your hosts, Liz and Court.
And our guest critic for this episode is Cassie. Hi, Cassie.
Hi.
Hi, Cassie. Welcome. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Cassie is one of my best friends from college. Like we were I can hear Remy back there. We were roommates.
I'm so sorry.
I know we were roommates in college, and Cassie's new roommates involves a dog. But all is well. Cassie, we are so excited to have you. You are one of the smartest and funniest people that I know, and I can't wait to hear all of your takes on this movie.
Wow, that was so kind. Also, missing you right now over Remy. I don't know why he's so grumbly, but he says hello.
Hi, Remy. So with that, Cassie, do you want to introduce the movie that we're talking about today?
Yes, super excited because this week we're going to be talking about the movie that had every 13-year-old girl in a tizzy back in 2008, Twilight.
Ooh, yes, myself included. I was probably younger. No.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess I don't know how old I was, but I definitely saw the midnight premiere of Twilight when it came out. So
I remember doing that too.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
All right, so before we get into talking more about the movie, I'm going to give a quick summary of it for anyone who needs a quick refresher, or if you're one of those unfortunate people that never saw the movie, here's the movie in a nutshell.
Okay.
The Twilight Saga begins with Bella moving back to Forks to live with her father. Being the new kid in a small town, Bella naturally piques the interest of everyone she meets, including Edward Cullen, the most eligible bachelor at Forks High School, who turns out to be a little different from everyone else. Jacob Black also makes an appearance in this story, but he basically gets his own movie, so we'll introduce that later. Back to Edward. Edward is a vampire, and Bella is quickly introduced into his world when a group of not-so-nice vampires stumbles into town. One of them is particularly interested in killing Bella, which sends the Cullen family into a frenzy, trying to keep her safe.
Wow,
drama.
Okay, so this movie we mentioned came out in 2008. I think I was 12 in 2008. So middle school age, the peak
I think I was 13.
Immaturity.
Yeah.
This movie was directed by Catherine Hardwicke, and I mean, this movie is the ultimate teenage heartthrob. One of the best known series of the early 2000s, and the book series itself too was just like a complete sensation. I was definitely a book girly. Read these books an unreal amount of times. I'm honestly embarrassed to admit how many times I probably read these books.
Oh man, I definitely read the books, but I didn't read them more than once.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
One
Honestly, this is making me want to read them again. So
same. Okay, so Cassie, before we really get into it, I have to ask: are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
I'm really, really glad that I get to go on the record and say that the only option is being Team Jacob. There's literally no rationale to being Team Edward at all.
Rob Pattinson?
Not enough. Literally not enough.
Okay, well, you and Liz are going to get along this episode because this is really the introduction to Edward, and I feel like y'all are about to shit on him so hard. It's not even funny, and I'm going to have to do some defending here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Before we move on too much, I have two other people two other famous people that have said who their team is, and I want to share that.
Okay.
So the first is Stephenie Meyers, the writer of the books, and she is Team Jacob.
That's stupid.
So there's that.
Okay.
You can tell just by the way she wrote the characters. She made Edward out to be so creepy. Like, obviously she was Team Jacob.
And then my second one is Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter, and he is Team Edward. So
that checks out.
Thank you. Wow. Wow. Okay.
That checks out a lot.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he can probably relate to being the Edward character, right? Like
the
he's
weirdo
Harry Potter. Well, like the main character who's like probably hated by a lot of people
weird
because he's like
guy
angsty.
lacking social skills.
There we go.
Okay, we're not going there because I like both of those people. Before we really get into the movie, let's talk about some symbolism. So, what do we think the meaning behind the title Twilight is?
I feel like, so when you think about like twilight, like the literal like time of day, it's like, you know, it's a change. It's like the cusp of a big change. And I feel like when you enter like this Twilight universe, it's like, this is where Bella's whole like existence starts to change. So I feel like it's kind of like symptomatic of that. That's just my hot take.
Yeah. It also, I did some research into the name, the name and why she called it that. You're right, Cassie. That is part of it. The other part is that the point of Twilight is kind of the meshing point of daytime and nighttime. So that's where the human world and the vampire world can really come together. That's the whole reason why Edward and Bella were able to connect in the first place, because Forks is kind of in this eternal twilight deal. It's always overcast, you know, on sunny days, like they say in the book and in the movie. The Cullens take the day off. So that's kind of where Twilight comes from. It's being that time of day where it was even possible for them to meet. And then also Edward and Bella, well, Bella more so than Edward, they're on the cusp of changing between being a child and being an adult. So they're going through that time in their life. Well, it's true. Where they're able to start
9 years old.
Anywho, it's referring to the end of their childhood, moving into the limbo between childhood and adulthood.
I feel like that's kind of cheesy. I was with you up until that point.
Yeah. Those are the two reasons Stephenie Meyer gave. So
okay, well,
I feel like she is just making stuff up at this point.
Because he's literally ancient. So like,
he's old.
Yes.
Yeah, he's old.
It's not on the cusp of
109.
adulthood. Yeah,
very old.
That is super attractive to all of us.
But the one part that y'all did say correctly through all of this is that this movie really is the one where Bella is introduced to the world of Twilight, the world of vampires, the fact that there is more than just human existence out there. And so that's pretty much that, and Edward is pretty much what we're going to talk about in this movie. And there's a lot to talk about. So I want to start with kind of just like the basic stuff, like how this movie is, like how it looks. And one of the things that's like very specific to this movie, and Liz, you said it's because in Forks, like the reason that they go to the Cullens live in Forks is because I think they say it's like under a near constant cover of clouds, is because there's no sun. And so what they do in this movie is they put a blue tone over the whole thing.
It works.
How do we feel? Yeah, have you ever seen the videos where it's like when they remove the blue tone off of Twilight?
And it's just creepy.
I haven't seen that. No.
It's so creepy.
Oh, weird.
It's like them doing their like growling, they're like, and it's just like normal people, and you're like, back up. That's weird.
No, I didn't realize the blue tone was carrying so much of the weight there. Like, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I was watching some like behind the scenes footage, I guess, like the where they show like behind the camera like what they're doing, and it's so weird, like seeing how the scenes are made, and like it's just, it looks so normal, and then they like piece it all together to make it this movie. How do we feel about like Forks in general?
I wouldn't live in Forks.
No.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody would live in Forks. I was
People live there, Courtney.
It's like I had
3,000
friends
people.
like in middle school who like took their family vacation to Forks, Washington because of this movie. Like we had a lot of twihards at our school, and like people are like, "Oh my god, I'm going to Forks," and like it's a real ass place. And they would like take pictures with like the little fork sign and be like, "Twilight forever," and like hold their little apples. It's like
That is so crazy.
people go there. Like it became kind of a tourist destination for a minute.
So I want to shed some light on a lie that Stephenie Meyers tells in the opening scene of the Twilight book, movie, whatever.
Okay.
And that is that Forks is the wettest place in the continental US. It's a lie. There are a lot of towns in and around Seattle that have the most number of rainy days, or days where it rains. However, the actual wettest in terms of actual precipitation is Mobile, Alabama.
No way.
Just putting that out there.
Wow. That place is
That's surprising to
sunny.
me. Is it because of like, this is a dumb question. Does that count like humidity?
No,
Like-
I think it's like
volume.
summer storms and stuff.
Oh, fascinating.
So I was actually asking my friend this morning who is from Seattle, because I was like, I've always been a skeptic. I've never been to Seattle, but I've always been a skeptic of this like whole concept that like the Cullens could go to Forks and like be outside all the time. Like there wouldn't be any sun. But I was like, is this real? And she was like, oh yeah, like it's always cloudy, like all the time. It
Gloomy.
rains all the time. And I think it rains like it's just like misty like all the time. Like it's not really like downpouring, kind of like how it does in Alabama.
And somehow Bella's hair always looks nice.
It's fake.
She's obnoxious.
Okay, so there's like so much that is right about Forks. Like I love like the trees and like all like the huge redwood type trees that they have in it. But one thing that's always bothered me is the high school. Because I read the books and they show this like huge high school in the movies, and there's only 3,000 people in the town. And I'm like, okay, that high school looks like it houses 3,000 kids. Like, what are you doing?
In the first movie, they do use Forks High School. So that is like the real Forks High School in the first movie.
Really?
But after Twilight came out, they moved production out of Forks into
Washington,
Vancouver.
Tragic.
They moved to Vancouver. And I think it was because it became such like a tourist destination that they would have a hard time filming and keeping things secret. So they moved it to Vancouver, and they just like built sets pretty much.
Okay.
Wow.
To try and mimic what had already been shown in the first movie.
Maybe
but that
from
is the
other
real
areas.
Forks High School that they used.
That's weird. I've never liked it. Maybe it's just because Stephenie Meyers like made up shit about Forks that she didn't actually
I think she
know.
did.
And just like described it as totally not what it actually is.
How do you think the people that actually live in Forks feel? They're like, this is our town. Like, why are you just like shitting all over it?
And like misrepresenting it too, you know?
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so we're gonna get into like all the characters. I think it's gonna be like a lot of this episode. But before we do that, I want to just also mention the soundtrack of this movie, because I think that's like one thing that's like kind of redeeming about it. Like I like all the music in it, and I think there's some scenes that like have some pretty iconic music. I don't know how y'all feel. If you agree.
I like the Bella's Lullaby song. I think that one's very pretty. It kind of like the TikTok craze with it. I don't know if either of you are on TikTok, but like the whole like, I don't know, they did a lot of like trends with that song in particular. So now every time I hear it, I think of that instead. But I do like that song. I think it's very pretty.
Okay. I have a lot of issues. That's actually the next thing I was going to bring up is the lullaby. Because so I'm like a big book girly, and the book just, so I like the lullaby. It's a great song. It's very it's very appealing to the ear. Okay, I can give that. However, the song itself is wrong. Like, it is supposed to be like this. The way it's described in the book is this like intricate song that is so complex that only somebody who could like move their fingers as fast as Edward could like play it. And it's literally like this, like playing piano, like singing. Yeah. It's like so far in the opposite direction of that I like remember hearing it for the first time, being like, this is fucked up. This can't be like the actual lullaby. I was like, surely it's coming later. And then it's 6 months later, it's the same song. And I'm like, no.
Oh no. I didn't remember that from the books, but that, yeah. I didn't know if you were like comparing sheet music, but yeah, if you go out of your way to like describe the fact that you'd have to have like fingers of fire to be able to play the song, and it's just like literally like 5 notes, like it's a scale up and down, like that's again. Really disappointing.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm right there with you. Yeah. I also like, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say one other song that I feel like is worth mentioning in the soundtrack is the baseball sound, or the baseball song or whatever. It's like so badass.
And Supermassive Black Hole. Is that the song?
Black Hole.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, oh my God. Like, it's kind of fun. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I think when this movie came out, I bought the soundtrack and I'm pretty sure I memorized every song on it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I will say too, I have 3 things to say. Number 1, Bella's Lullaby. Robert Pattinson actually plays the piano in the track.
It's literally the
That's
least
probably
complex.
why they slowed it down.
Yeah. Also, that's why I hate it.
He's like, whoa,
he ain't no Ryan Gosling.
So Robert Pattinson also has 2 original songs on this soundtrack. The first one is it's called Never Think, and it's when he takes Bella on the date to the restaurant. Like the first time that they do anything together, just the 2 of them, when she's supposed to be out with the girls looking at prom dresses.
Okay.
And then he saves her, and then he's like, I think Bella should have something to eat. And so then they sit there, and that's Robert Pattinson's original song that's playing in the restaurant. The second one is called Let Me Sign, and it's at the end when he's like sucking the venom out of her arm. Yeah. That's Robert Pattinson.
I did know that one because you can tell it's his voice in that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to watch it again because
so he's got 2 OG songs, and I think
I didn't
know
he
good.
sang song. He's like singing.
Pretty talented, yeah. Like he's pretty musically talented, actually.
Maybe you're gonna be Team Edward after
that.
This
piano begs to differ. I don't know.
The piano is really bad. It's literally like fingers, like single fingers on keys, like chopsticks vibes.
Oh my wow. God. Okay, I'll have to look into that.
Now I want to spend time talking about the characters, and this is like the first time we get to see a lot of them. So I like really think we should talk about like honestly like how we feel that they were cast and how you think that they like perform in this movie, and just like them in general. And so we're going to start with the main character, Bella, played by Kristen Stewart. I'll let y'all talk first because I have a lot of thoughts.
I just want to know why everything seems so painful to her. Like her smile is like so like pained and forced, and like I don't know. Like I think she was probably like honestly cast perfectly for like who Bella is supposed to be, but like she's it's like the most. I don't know how she's like more at ease with like vampires and werewolves than like actual human beings that she's been around her whole life. Like even talking to her dad, she just like can't do it. Like everything is painful. And they go out of their way to make her the clumsiest person that's ever existed. Ridiculously. Like, I don't know. I think it's strange. And also this is like, I just wanted to bring this up. I don't know if you guys know the ketchup scene, like the infamous ketchup scene. It's like so awkward. She's like at the diner with Charlie, and she like, just is like doing this with the ketchup thing, and nothing comes out, and then she just like puts it down. And I'm like, why are you doing this? And I feel like that scene, like in a nutshell, is just like how Kristen Stewart plays Bella. It's just kind of like awkward, and that's it. So I think it's really awkward.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not gonna lie. The first time I saw Twilight, I'm pretty sure I was like not impressed and like pretty upset that Kristen Stewart was Bella. And originally they were going to cast Lily Collins as Bella, which I think would have been perfect. And I don't know the reason why they didn't. But there are multiple times, not just in this movie, but like in the other movies, where you're like, Kristen Stewart, what is that?
It's so awkward. Like, I don't know. Like, even like when she smiles, it's like grimace. I'm like, you can be happy. It's okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think like Cassie, the way that you were describing her like is Bella. Like in the book, she's like the biggest klutz on earth. She like doesn't belong in the real world.
But I feel
I think that
but it could have been cute.
Yeah.
And it's not cute.
It's like so
like
forced. Like she's just like falls over getting into the truck at one point, and I'm like, girl, you opened a door. Like I can understand if you're like, oh, it rains a lot in Forks, and so she slips in puddles sometimes, like oops, whatever. Like she was like trying to pull open a door and she was like assaulted, and I'm like, it's like you can't just go, like that's not realistic at all. Like find a different way to show how clumsy she is, and like whatever, if that's like the type of character you want her to be, but like make it somewhat believable. Like even, and I guess like spoiler, but like closer to the end of the movie where they're like, what happened to you? And they're like, oh, like you fell down 2 flights of stairs out a window. Like who is falling down the stairs with that much velocity that they are just like tumble, busts through a window? Like that's unreal.
I think that's more of like a Stephenie Meyer issue though, because like that's how she wrote it. Like that's what happens in the book.
Yes, but like being clumsy is like not that cute. Like you can't just be like, oh, Bella, like she just fell out a window again. When is this girl gonna learn? Like literally, like this girl's gonna die.
I don't like how much she blinks. Like she blinks like an unreal amount. Like have you noticed like every scene where it's like a close up of her face, she's like just like aggressively twitching.
Like, no, you can't.
It's like the jaw thing too. Like her bottom jaw doesn't, like her jaw just doesn't move when she's talking. So she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh my God.
Liz, that impersonation was the best thing I've ever seen. For those audio viewers, you really need to check out the YouTube because you're missing out. Okay. I'm pretty sure that the director like made her blink a bunch. Like I think I read
but
that
she did
somewhere.
a bad job with it. You can blink a lot, like blink like too much and it not be you like okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Jacob.
Woo. Heartthrob.
Taylor Lautner. I think we positively approve.
Yeah, I wrote in here the first time seeing Jacob and he's already a hunk. Like he already looks good and he hasn't even put on all the extra muscle he had to put on for the rest of the movies. Like
just a little baby.
Yeah.
Taylor Lautner.
I like his long hair in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I'm not a big fan, but it still works. I think he's the only one who could pull it off, honestly. I had the biggest crush on Taylor Lautner when I was 13, so this was like prime. Like I had stickers of him all over like my notebooks and my iPod and like all of that stuff. So I was like, this is amazing. And also he was like a cool wolf and he had like a cool family. And also he was like just cool with her friends and wasn't like creepy about it. He was just like a nice guy and like blah, blah, blah. Very like boy next door vibes. Positively approve.
Agree.
Yeah, but this is not his movie. We're going to talk about him a lot in New Moon.
Honestly, a shame.
You should. Every movie should be the Jacob.
I've honestly like next should be Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
I was just about to mention Shark Boy. I was like, what was he like a cutout of Shark Boy?
Yes.
Okay. I did love that movie. Okay, so next Edward is played by Robert Pattinson. I think that he is perfectly cast.
I do think he is perfectly cast. Like, it makes a lot of sense. It's just a shame Edward's creepy.
Yeah, he's super creepy. And it's also a shame that they like make his hair and stuff so weird in this movie and like his lips and stuff.
His lips are like really pink. Like,
yeah, I think they do him a lot of disservices in this movie, like making him look stranger than he needs to. Yeah, very feminine.
So in the books, Stephenie Meyers describes the vampires as being like these beautiful, like ethereal beings. So I think that's what they were trying to go for. But Robert Pattinson is beautiful on his own. Like they didn't have to do so much to
Yeah.
him, and like they could have let him have some stubble. I know he's supposed to be 17, but I'm just saying.
I mean, he is something else, and they really ruined him. They really ruined him.
He still looks good. I wrote first time seeing Edward. RP is hot. HAWT, all caps. Okay, so he still looks great.
I just love the drama of when he like walks in the room, like that like whole scene. They're like music and the wind, and she's like, "Who's that?" Like as awkward as she possibly can.
They're like, "Don't even try."
It's like those like little narrations they give as they're all coming in. I was like, "LOL." Yeah, I mean, Court, I know you have a big crush on Robert Pattinson, so like none of this is surprising to me. I think he was perfectly cast for it. I'm not like the biggest Robert Pattinson fan, like so like I don't like feel one way or the other super strongly, but I feel like he makes a good Edward. I feel like he fits the persona that they were trying to capture really well.
Yeah.
Agreed.
One thing I will say about like both Kristen Stewart and Rob Pattinson is that they are weird. Like both of them in real life are like super weird. And I think it kind of works for these roles because it creates like this weird chemistry that they have on screen.
They were also dating during the filming of the first movie.
Yeah. I think Kristen Stewart was like underage too.
That's what I was going to ask. Like what was... What do we think? Like, do we want to look into that? That feels like I don't know.
I was watching an interview today where like it wasn't an interview, it was like a little behind the scenes like 20-minute thing on YouTube, and it was saying like somebody gave Robert Pattinson the advice the advice not to get involved with Kristen Stewart because she was underage.
18.
He was 18?
She was 18. Let's see.
When
how
they
old
filmed?
was Robert Pattinson? Yeah, when they started filming.
Oh, well, never mind then.
But he was probably older. He was 22. That's not that big of a gap.
Not that bad.
Yeah, I think as long as she's 18, it's fine.
We cleared it. We've approved it, so it's okay now.
Yeah, stamp of approval.
15 years ago, like retroactively, all good.
So I guess we can sort of jump to it then. And since we mentioned like Edward's, entrance scene and talk about the rest of the Cullens.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So we'll kind of do them like in pairs, I guess. So we can talk about Rosalie and Emmett first. So played by Nikki Reed and Kellen Lutz.
I love them.
I personally love them. I think they're perfectly cast, and like they play those characters like to a T, like exactly what you would have pictured, like 100% all in.
They need their own movie.
Yeah, I always thought like Rosalie's character is like the most fascinating, like, and I don't think she nearly gets the justice that she deserves for it. Like she's kind of just like cast as like this cold-hearted, but like mean girl, and no, like justice for Rosalie. I feel like she's like got a lot of depth to her, and they don't ever dive into that. Everyone's Team Alice. Like,
yeah. I love Rosalie. I think she's perfectly cast. I think Emmett is as well. Yeah. I think they're perfect and just stay perfect throughout the series.
Agreed.
So Nikki Reed plays Rosalie, and I think she was cast perfectly, but she does naturally have black hair.
Oh, fascinating.
Yeah. For this first movie, it took them 36 hours to dye her hair blonde.
I guess they bleached
it. Throughout the filming, her hair was falling out.
That's terrible.
From the bleaching. And so for like after this movie, she wears a wig for the rest of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, why didn't they just jump to wig? Like,
I don't know. I guess they thought it would work.
Oh, wow.
36 hours and then all of her hair fell out.
Oh, boy.
That is tragic.
Yeah. That is really sad. No wonder she's so grumpy. That's sad.
I know, I was about to say, some of that angst is real.
I know. She's like, I hate this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
Okay, well, next we have Alice, played by Ashley Greene, and Jasper, played by Jackson Rathbone. Who I think Alice is like perfectly cast.
I don't love Ashley Greene as Alice.
Well, I think Ashley Greene plays the part really well, but I think that Alice is supposed to be, and there's nothing that Ashley Greene can do about this, but Alice is supposed to be like smaller.
Yeah.
Like she's supposed to be like teeny tiny. And I feel like Bella is like smaller than
But
her.
I feel like Alice gives off like teeny tiny girl energy. Like she's kind of like a little like fairy persona. Like
Pixie
she's like
kind of vibe.
yeah, like twirling around. And like I don't know, when I think of her in my mind, even like seeing the actress playing her, like I imagine her like very petite. And like even if she's not, I think she like plays it off really well. But I think like her personality matches right on. And I think Jasper.
I mean, I think she is. Jasper is creepy. I think she is petite. I think Bella is just very petite. Like Bella is small.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart's really small.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie Meyer makes a big point of that in the books too, of like how tiny Bella is too. Like she makes a lot of comments specifically about how like you can see like how fragile her collarbones are, and like you can count her ribs through her shirt, which like also is very toxic. So like she's like,
I'm embarrassed to have read these books.
I'm like, ooh. So like Stephanie Meyer is definitely out here being like, these girls are teeny tiny fragile little birds, and whatever.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about Ashley Greene. I just like never got behind her as Alice. I wish they would have done like an Emma Watson or someone like that doesn't have such stark features. Like Alice, everything about her is so pointy, and I feel like I always envisioned her as more of like a soft, I don't know. Also the hair, Ashley Greene does not look fantastic in a bob.
I don't know. I feel like I like the sharper features. I feel like it gives her more of that like pixie look. And like also she's like a chiseled vampire. So like I feel like it checks out. Like vampires aren't like soft and doughy really, I feel. So I don't know. I think I like it.
But Jasper we think is creepy.
Oh, yes. 100%. His eyes.
Collectively. Like his eyes are creepy. I mean, he's supposed to look kind of like that, right? Like
yeah, I think it's right. But like I feel like he went all in, and now I'm kind of like, I think you might just be creepy. Like at some point you're like, how much is acting and how much is this just you being like a creepy dude?
Well, he does method acting.
I was totally going to call that. I was like, this man straight up thought he was a vampire who fought in the Civil War. like he just, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
And then they're not shown in this scene, but we do get to see them later, is Carlisle, played by Peter Facinelli, and then Esme, played by Elizabeth Reeser, who I don't know who she is, but
I think Carlisle's the real heartthrob of this movie, to be honest. I think he looks great.
I never thought he was super attractive, to be honest.
That's fair. I do.
I think he's got like dad energy, like hot dad energy, big time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which works. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
But he doesn't give off the same energy as like Edward and Emmett do, where it's like they're definitely like the young, like hunky guys. And Carlisle's like definitely the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still attractive, but definitely a dad.
And I have literally zero thoughts about Esme.
Yeah, she's kind of there. She doesn't have a huge part.
Yeah, she just kind of is there.
Okay, speaking of hot dad vibes.
Charlie.
Oh my God.
I have never watched this movie and ever thought this before. But this rewatch, I was watching Charlie.
The best character in the whole
Billy
movie.
Burke. And I was like, what the fuck? He's so hot.
I don't know if hot's the right word.
No, you lost me there. Semantics are key.
I was having like a moment. I was like, wow, Bill, what's going on?
Maybe like in aura or like energy, but like
I don't know.
I also don't know. But definitely my favorite character. Like
yeah, Charlie's 100%. Great.
Also like, yeah, justice for Charlie, because like he is just absolutely steamrolled and like belittled and just like shat on every like turn. And I just like want to cry for him every single time. Like he's just out here being like, you know, single dad, trying to do his best. And his daughter's just like kind of a bitch.
Shitty. She is shitty.
Yeah, she is the worst.
Yeah.
But I think he's great.
100%.
And then we have all of Bella's friends in school. I have some issues with a lot of their casting, but mostly it's because they just like eliminated characters from the book and like condensed them all into the people that are left over as Bella's friends, which is fine. They had to. But I think Angela and Jessica are like pretty well cast. And I think Anna Kendrick is like really great in this movie specifically. And so are Mike and Eric as well. I think they're all good.
I don't care about any of them. They're like, I feel like such unimportant characters overall that I'm just like, you could have cast anybody for them and I feel like it would have just like gotten the job done. Like the only reason they were there was to like be annoying and they succeeded. So
yeah. I love Anna Kendrick in like subsequent movies. But she plays such a small role in this one that, I mean, like Cassie said, it could have been anybody playing that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always remembered like hating that they got rid of characters and it made me sad. That's okay. And so then we also have, we're not going to talk about everybody, but we will talk about James, Laurent, and Victoria, who are like the villains of this movie. And I think they're all like genuinely scary.
Really?
I thought Laurent looked like somebody that I would approach in public. Like he looks very nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, he's sort of supposed to be like the nice one, right?
Well, yeah.
James is creepy for sure.
100%.
But Laurent was sweet. Victoria looked like maybe she would be nice. James is the only one that I was kind of like, he looks like the bad guy.
I agree. I thought Laurent gave off like cool, stylish, like cool guy energy. Like I didn't think of him, like I didn't think he seemed like a villain at all. He just like wanted to play baseball and then he was like, ooh, we should probably bounce and like try to get his group.
I can see we've overstayed.
Yeah, so he was like, he didn't give me villain vibes at all. Like I am not scared of him, but James is scary. He looks like someone who could like mess you up. And Victoria, I feel like I don't know. She doesn't seem like super like scary. She seems like maybe she'd like talk shit about you at a party, but like that's kind of it. She seemed like cool girl, like mean, not like I'm gonna kill you mean.
I think that was intentional too. Like I think Victoria's supposed to look approachable because she's the one that kind of like leads all of their hunting efforts. And if people were scared of her, they would have a lot harder time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the baseball scene and James in full. The last thing I did want to mention in terms of characters is just something like random. Did y'all notice that Stephanie Meyers made a cameo in this movie?
I remember hearing about that, but I don't remember where it was.
So she's in the diner scene.
She's like, sitting at the bar.
Yeah. And she's actually like on a laptop. And apparently she's writing Breaking Dawn, like while she's sitting at the laptop.
Okay.
In that scene.
I feel like that's convenient. She's probably like checking emails or something, but like, sure, cool. She could have been doing anything. She's on like Omegle.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God.
Let's deep dive though, like throughout the movie into Bella's introduction of Edward. So this whole movie just like revolves literally like around Edward and Bella's thoughts around Edward, and everything she narrates is all about Edward. She's just like constantly thinking about him. And so we already talked about like when she first sees him in the cafeteria, but then the next time she sees him is in like science class, I guess, biology class. And when he like
is repulsed by her. Can you imagine like someone thinks you smell so bad, or like your perception is they think you smell so bad they're literally trying to yeet themselves out of class. Like they're just like immediately run out and they're like, please, literally anything. I will take ceramics. Like I will just like be the janitor for an hour. Like just give me literally anything. Like wow.
And then they dip for a week.
And then she's like, ooh, he's still hot though. Like I cannot imagine having such a strong sense of self that wouldn't just absolutely destroy me at 17 years old. Nuts.
Yeah. So one like scene that they did remove from this movie is like the blood typing scene. I don't know if y'all remember that from the book, but like they do have the biology scene when Edward comes back, but then there's this whole part about like them doing blood typing and Edward skips and then Bella faints, and like I'm kind of sad that they got rid of all of that because I feel like that would have been kind of funny, but
would have been better than the anaphase and prophase dealio.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I'm sad they didn't include that, but they did include him saving her from Tyler almost hitting her with the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I like how that scene is done. I think it's a pretty effective scene. Exactly like how it was in the book to me. And I think it's interesting to watch. I watched some videos about how they made it, and they kind of like piecemealed the whole thing together.
I feel like this whole movie is like so low budget and it like, shows, and I feel like this is one of those scenes where it does kind of show, like just the fact that they do like the close-up of the van and he skids for like 10 seconds in a school parking lot. Like it's also like hardly drizzling. I don't understand how this like severity of an accident could have happened.
It was sheet ice.
But like
there was sheet ice on the road.
But he was going like he was in a school parking lot. How fast was he possibly going that he's like, whoa, like all the way like across like horizontally, like he's not even spinning out, he's just like like, and just the cuts they do, I felt like it looks like so like it looked like a meme. But I mean, I guess I don't know. And then but I do think that the way they like had him like bust up the van was interesting. I don't know, I just felt like sometimes the special effects in this movie like all together just had me being like, come on. like
yeah,
even as like a 12 or 13-year-old, I was like, I feel like you could do this on iMovie. like, and it would have like a similar, I don't know. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Like, and I think how they did the door is I think they literally like made the door out of like soft
aluminum.
plastic.
Oh.
Yeah, or like aluminum, and then like put his hand in it. Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
it is like a lot of the special effects are kind of low budget. And I think a lot of the decisions that they made are because they didn't have budget. Like, you know how there's this scene where they show the wolves, like the tribe, kind of, and they flash to the wolves. They use like actual wolves in that scene because it's like the lower budget option compared to like CGI.
Like
and then there's also
wolf B-roll.
I don't know. They like got some wolves. They cast them, and then also like I saw too the baseball scene. They were originally gonna have like a lot more light in that scene, like streaks of light, but they like cut that because it was gonna be too expensive to do the little like sparkly effect.
Do you know how they made the sparkly effect? Do you know what they had to do?
No.
The only one you ever see sparkle is Edward. And the reason for that is because they had to completely map Edward's body and like CGI it in like individually onto his body. And it took them so much time and effort that they only did it a few times, and it only did it for Edward.
Jeez.
That's weird.
Like there had to be a better way. Just throw some glitter on the man.
Honestly, I was going to say body glitter's gotten pretty good. like, so maybe 2008, the tech just wasn't there yet. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, you are right that they don't do a lot of sparkling.
It's because it's Forks. It's always cloudy, conveniently. That's silly.
I did see like a video where when they're laying in the meadow, they like shine light on them, like with like beams of light, and then like after they say cut, you can see like Edward or Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson kind of like squint and like turn away because they're like struggling to like see the whole scene.
Oh man.
Okay, but throughout the movie, like Bella and Edward's interactions are just like exceptionally cringeworthy. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of like really weird scenes that happen. One that's like kind of iconic is like the apple thing that happens where like the apple drops and like Edward kicks it up and catches it. I guess it's like to symbolize like the cover of the book with the apple.
I remember at the midnight premiere, girls were shrieking like with the apple scene. That was like a big like, oh my god.
Yeah. I thought that scene was so stupid. And I've always thought that scene was stupid. This movie like was really hard for me to watch the first time I watched it. I think, Liz, you kind of alluded to it too, but like just stuff that was like wrong, and you're like watching it and you're like, this is not how I envisioned it from the book.
I think maybe it was because I like wasn't such a book stan for like this particular series. Like I read the books the one time, and I think I read the book maybe even after I watched the movie when I was in middle school. Like I was not like a diehard like Twilight fan. So like I didn't have like any like, it wasn't hard for me to watch because of that. It was harder because of like the special effects and just like how just cringy their interactions are. And I'm like, is this like really the best thing we want to be showing to like 13-year-old girls of like, I watch you sleep and like all of this like, I want to kill you. Doesn't that scare you? And she's like, no, I hope your family likes me. Like, I'm like, this seems kind of toxic, but that's
true. So Bella spends a lot of time trying to like figure Edward out, and she ends up going to La Push and like attempting to flirt with Jacob to get some information out of him, which that in and of itself I think is hilarious.
Flirting is
because
terrible.
Kristen Stewart is so awkward.
It went exactly how we all thought it would, just like knowing how she is. So no surprises.
Yes. But she finds out about the cold ones. And so then she goes to Port Angeles with Jess and Angela to go like prom dress shopping with them, but really just go to this like tribe bookstore.
Also though, like shout out for like the local bookstore representation. Like I don't know if you like, her mouse like hovers over Amazon and then Barnes and Noble, and then she goes to like find local retailers and it like takes her to like Port Angeles. I was like, okay, cool. So shout out.
That is weird. I never thought about that, but that doesn't exactly like age, because like nowadays you would potentially just like order off of Amazon or whatever. But it's funny. So this is where we have the whole scene where Bella is just like a magnet for danger and gets 4 men to surround her and like randomly just like, I was like thinking this whole scene like they want to like sexually assault her. I'm just like, is this realistic? Like I know that people do this, but if you're just like walking around town, like I don't know, it's like very strange how it like happened so suddenly. But then Edward, because he's been following Bella around, just happens to be there to save the day.
Which like we're overlooking how creepy that is too. Like she's like, oh my god, these creepy dudes were stalking me. Like also Edward was stalking you. Like let's maybe just like make that piece of it clear. But
and is like scary mean and like angry when he picks her up.
And he drives
like he's like, how could you be so reckless?
And she's still like, ooh, like I'm on a date with Edward. Like this girl's blinded. I don't understand. And he's like driving like a maniac, and he's like, it's taking everything in me not to go back and like tear those guys to shreds. And I'm like, toxic masculinity.
Like, you didn't hear what they were thinking.
Yeah. Also, okay. So that's the other thing is like he somehow has been keeping this secret for like 100 years, and like suddenly he meets this girl, and like he cannot keep it together. Like he's just like talking about like, I was reading their minds and like all this like my eyes change color sometimes. Like he's like no one else has ever like. I don't know. Like, how have you kept the secret for 100 years and never gotten close to like ruining it for your entire family? And then you meet this girl and you're like, oopsies, like just dropping these things out. Like, it's really easy to not talk about being able to read other people's minds, I think. And somehow he just kind of lets that slip. So that's frustrating.
I think the worst part about that is that she like is unfazed.
Totally.
She has no questions. She's just like, oh, okay.
She's like, huh.
Move on.
Fascinating. Like, wait, did you say you could read my thoughts? Huh. Anyway, she like takes a bite of her spaghetti. Like,
yeah. I think she's more concerned. She's like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't she read my mind?
Which, again, like, why are we, this whole thing, I'm like, you can't show this to, like, 13-year-old girls. It's like, you can't be like, this guy might want to kill you. But you should be worried about how you're perceived.
Also, the scene where they're in the restaurant, I hated this scene, like, so much. Because I think it's really awkward. But the part where she's like, what is everyone in this room thinking right now?
Yeah.
And he, like, goes around the room, and he goes, sex,
money,
cats, sex, money. And I'm like, I hated that scene. Like, hated it so much.
bit of a tangent, but have you guys read Midnight Sun, which is like the first
Yes.
Not
movie,
yet.
but from like his perspective? I feel like that restaurant scene, I feel like, is portrayed a little bit better than like Twilight restaurant scene, because it like actually like has some substance to it, instead of him being like, oh, they're all thinking about sex and like whatever. So I don't know. I feel like it's interesting to like watch. I read that book somewhat recently, more recently than I obviously read Twilight, and I was like, huh, fascinating.
Yeah, that one's on my list. I need to read that for sure.
You should definitely read it. I rented it from the library and read it very quickly, like a year ago. But it is really weird being in Edward's head. He like has this perspective on things that like makes a lot of sense, but it's like really cynical. And like, I don't know, Cassie, you've read it more recently than I have, but I remember like being in his head is not as interesting of a place as it is being in Bella's head.
I liked getting more of his backstory though. Like I felt like it kind of helped, because I feel like I like, even from the first time I read the book and watched the movie, I'm like, this guy's so creepy. So it like helped like take that part of it out a little bit, because I like couldn't even find the infatuation with Edward, because I was like, he's literally like a murderous stalker. Like why are we okay with this? So like,
no, I was like, as a 12-year-old reading this books, I was like, I was Bella. Like I was like 100% like enthralled by him. Like for real.
Oh gosh.
I know. It's really bad. Okay, so the cringe just continues and continues with Edward. And the next thing that I remember is when they go to school, like very shortly after this, and he like leads her off into the woods, and like she like does that whole speech where she's like, "You're impossibly fast," and, like, all this stuff,
and they show the little
like,
cuts of like
say it.
all the stuff that he did.
Yeah.
So strong, and they have like
vampire.
the little like arm.
I don't know. I just really can't get behind that scene. Again, broken record, but it deviates so hard from the book. It's not even funny, and it just makes me like angry, like how cringy it is. Like it doesn't have to be so cringy, you know?
The way his little like feet run them up to like the top of the little like past the clouds or whatever. He's like, bloop, 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 and like it's like so funny. Like if you put any other music behind that scene, like you just die. And I'm like, oh man, this is supposed to be like the big like pinnacle, like she's finding out who he really is, and he's just like scurrying up a tree, and then he's like, this is a body of a killer, and it's like just like beautiful like sparkly skin. Which like also Stephanie Meyer takes so many liberties with vampires that like it's a little bit disheartening, but
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. And then Bella goes to his house for the first time.
The Cullen house is literally gorgeous.
It's so nice. I would live there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. We do like the house. Edward's family is making Bella Italian food, which is nice. I like when Rosalie breaks the bowl of whatever she has.
She's just so angsty.
Yeah.
But then we go into Edward's room, and I don't know why, but they decide that Bella and Edward need to jump out of the window
so we can see
of
him
Edward's
scurry
room.
Again. We didn't get enough the first time. And he
can call her a spider monkey, and they can like climb up these trees and like stand at the top of all the trees. I don't know.
He's trying to show her his world.
No.
He's like, I need
Aladdin
to show
did it
you
better.
like how
yeah,
that's true.
The spider monkey thing, I just can't get behind. Also, Bella doesn't like the running. Like she hates the running. That's like a thing.
We all hate
like,
the running.
Yeah, and he just grabs her. I don't know. Why did he call her spider monkey? That whole thing is just like, that scene is so iconic now too. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows it, and it's like so wrong.
Robert Pattinson chose that phrase. He was given an option, and he chose it.
He was given another option.
You can blame your favorite Edward boy for choosing that.
That's on you.
I can't believe that. I feel like that's fake.
It's true. He picked it.
Oh no. Okay. Well, what were his options? Like spider monkey and banana muffin? I mean, like, was it the better of the two?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. You have to go Google that one.
Okay. So I feel like that's all I've got for Edward, like meeting Edward, learning about Edward. I don't know if there's anything else that I missed. I'm sure there is, but
I mean,
all their interactions are strange.
I feel like one other thing to call is like the watching while she sleeps thing, and he's just like,
yes.
And she's like not at all phased. She like wakes up to a strange man in her room, and like, first of all, I wake up and there's any sort of shadow anywhere, and I'm like, ah, and she just like wakes up and is like, how long have you been here? And he's just like, I've been coming here for the past few months. And she's just like, LOL. Like, also, again, with the whole taking liberties with vampires thing, like, don't vampires have to be like invited in? That's like their whole shtick. And like, he's just been like climbing in her window for months and is like, I like to watch you sleep. It's interesting. Like, what?
Breaking and entering, literally breaking the law.
I know. He's just like a criminal, objectively, and is just never held accountable for it. So I don't understand. Also, bold. Her dad's a cop. So
yeah.
Whatever.
In a later movie, and I forget which one it is, it might be Eclipse, like after like Edward comes back and he's like in the room with her and she had like just talked to Charlie and he's like, I'm technically not breaking any rules because he said I couldn't come through the door and I came in through the window. And I'm like, doesn't make it any better.
Still very creepy.
Like,
I don't know.
We're repeating these activities over and over again.
It's so I don't know. Like, also, like, what's so fascinating about watching someone sleep? Like, I feel like, I don't know. It's weird how much he wants to watch her. And I get that it's supposed to be romantic, but it's weird.
It's not. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Are we going to talk about their first kiss, Courtney?
Oh my God.
Yeah. We can talk about their first kiss.
Why did it take so long? It was a very long scene. It was very painful. It made my skin like I like did one of these like guys because I couldn't.
The like squinting, the like forcing the eyes closed, and the like Bella's like coming on to him so hard.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like kind of pathetic a little bit.
Oh my God. It made me so physically uncomfortable.
So I saw somewhere that Catherine Hardwicke, the director, like she made Bella and Edward do that scene like at her house, like before confirming that Rob was Edward.
No.
Yeah. So they had picked Kristen Stewart to play Bella, and they were like in the final stages of choosing Robert Pattinson. And she was like, why don't you guys come to my house and let me make sure that you're compatible?
Someone needs to call the authorities. That's fishy. To put it kindly, I don't like that.
Very fishy.
Reject that whole thing.
Okay, so
I thought I hated that scene first, and then you just dropped that bomb, and now I feel like I need to go shower.
Oh my
God.
Just
so now we're gonna get to like the climax of the movie, I guess, which is the baseball scene, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit. But this is where the Cullens go and they play baseball in the storm, and then James.
I love that whole thing. Like, I thought it was so fun.
I do think it's like the best scene in the whole movie. Like, I feel like it like makes the movie fun, and like you get to see a little bit of
shows all their personalities.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, you just like get to see like who they are a little bit, like not even verbally, but just through like the way that they're playing this game, and like you're like, oh my God, fun. Mm-hmm. I wish it lasted longer. I wish that were the majority of the movie.
Makes them all likable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
because without that scene, they're just like super creepy the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's like redeeming qualities to me.
Mm-hmm. How do we feel about like all the effects, like the way that they run, like the way that they jump? Like,
it's terrible.
It's horrible.
I think
I don't say it all worked.
Oh. No.
No,
It's
it's not
just
good.
very poor taste in movies, so it's fine.
I just feel like all of
Okay.
the special effects are so bad. Like it's like so corny. I think the scene is really fun, and like I think that helps it like not, I don't know, like I don't hate those special effects as much, but like I don't know. I think it's still pretty corny. I feel like they could have done better. But again, I know that they're making this with like no budget essentially. So you got to take what you can get.
If you ever get a chance, you should look up like how they filmed the special effects in that scene. Like it's kind of weird.
Interesting.
Like they put like the running is like they're on like a harness thing and they're being like pulled. So they're like running, but they're just like going really fast. And then
they're on like a treadmill type thing that gets like pulled along.
Well, I think that's what Laurent, James, and Victoria are on when they like walk in. They're on like a treadmill thing, but I think when they're running the bases, like they're on like this,
they're like suspended in
they're
air.
like suspended
their
in
legs
air.
are just
No wonder they look so stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why it looks so weird.
You recognize this. You know this.
I assumed that they were actually like doing something and just like trying to look different, but that
no, they can't run that fast. And the jumping in this movie is really weird, just like in general, not even just in this scene, but like the way that they like swoosh when they jump just like is wrong
it's
to
so
me.
Strange.
Yeah, but otherwise the scene is great. The music choice is great.
Agree.
Then
fun.
The party ends and Edward loses his absolute mind.
So we didn't talk about when Laurent and James and Victoria come in. And I just want to say really quick, they show their feet. And they are barefoot, running through the field. But there's also like a good moment where you can see the vampire's feet. And I was not a fan.
I don't like that.
Did not love that.
I don't think that's really disappointing because I expected Laurent to have like some like sick ass boots. I thought his like whole fit like would be just like totally on point. So that's really disappointing to hear. I must have like looked down I missed that, and it's for the best. I won't look into it. I'm just gonna live with the cool boots in my head.
I think their red eyes are like effectively creepy though.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that about the feet. But
Ew.
Feet or not, James is coming after Bella, and
yes, he is.
And
Edward is over explaining everything. He literally like the whole time he's like this, and this, and then this, and this, and then this, and then this, and this, and then we have to cut him up and burn the pieces. And you're like, why are you explaining all of this? We are going to see it all later.
Well, and like why I feel like that whole thing is so rushed, and I feel like they just ran out of time because they focused too much on like Bella and Edward's like creepy, awkward interactions, and so they're like kind of rushed what was like the main action point of this movie. And like I felt like in the book it was a lot more like detailed of like, okay, they come up with this plan, and like you like see it coming all together, like from like you're seeing it all be put together instead of Edward just like narrating the whole plan. He's like, okay, we can only take like 3 minutes to fill this, so like this is what we're gonna do. So I felt like it felt really rushed personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So then Bella and Edward go to Charlie's house, and Bella does her. This part makes me so sad for Charlie, but like where she basically says what Renee said when she was leaving and was like, I don't want to be stuck here in Forks with you. And
she didn't have to say that. She didn't.
I know she didn't. She could have just said anything and run away, and he would have let her go. I've never understood that. Like
I need to get away and go see my mom for the weekend. Boom.
Yeah.
She
didn't have to blow it up like that and just like break his heart. Like again, justice for Charlie.
Absolutely crazy. But then we get the whole scene where the vampires are trying to chase after the bad vampires, like James basically, and also Renee or Esme and Rosalie are trying to like ward off like kind of put Bella's scent everywhere and like trick the vampires into going somewhere else, or trick Victoria. And then Bella goes with Alice and Jasper down to Phoenix. And Bella is literally the most stupid human I have ever known. How easily she's fooled by James in this situation is like comical. And like you don't get it really when you're reading it because you're like in Bella's stupid head. But then when you like see it on the screen, you're like, wow, she's so fucking dumb. Like
he even tells her
really.
she's dumb, and I'm like, honestly, you're right. Like,
Yes.
he was like, this was way
Yeah.
too easy. He's like, why did you do this? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We had to remember too, though, she is 17.
That's
So
true.
she's not been around a ton. I mean, she's from Phoenix. Is there a ton of crime in Phoenix? I don't know. She spent the last year in Forks where there's 100 people. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel for her, but I also did say Bella was stupid. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like you've got a whole team of like these supernatural vampires with like these secret powers and stuff. Like I feel like
she could have at least told them. She could have been like, look.
And he was like, I'll
This is-
know. Like,
this is
how
the
would
phone
you know?
call I got.
Yeah.
Yeah, he literally won't. She could have been like, this is the phone call I got. He wants me to show up alone, so we gotta have to figure out how to make it look like I'm alone.
Yeah, like literally anything.
Easy.
And then instead she goes into this
Easy.
monologue of like, I never gave much thought to how I would die. I was like, you're so dramatic. Stop. Like,
Yeah.
you
Which
didn't
they
think about
said
it
in the beginning.
Yeah, which I also was like random. But like, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. So then we go to the ballet studio scene, which I actually think is like a pretty good scene.
I just want to know
I thought they did a great job with it.
why she took ballet classes in a literal haunted house. Like, why? I don't know. Like, it was like a haunted house of mirrors. It was scary.
Why didn't she think to turn the lights on?
Yeah.
Like, you walk into this empty studio, turn the fucking lights on. Why are
That
the
is a
lights
good
off?
point.
You're already dealing
That's
with
the
a
first thing I
vampire.
do if I walk into my bedroom and I know where I am there. Like,
Yeah. Huh.
crazy.
Because they had to keep the blue hue going the
They're
whole
like, it's a
movie,
little
so
bit
keeping
harder.
the lights on.
We don't have budget for
Yeah.
lights on this scene. The lighting budget has been cut.
Oh my god.
So then there's the fight scene, which I like the fight scene. I like that Alice is the one who like rips his head off.
That's fun.
And then
Good times all around. 10 out of 10.
Lots of mirrors break in, and then we get Edward sucking the venom out of her
While this
wrist.
sweet little song plays in the background.
That he apparently wrote, an Edward Cullen original.
Yeah. Kristen Stewart's screaming in this scene is like horrifying.
She's good at pain.
Yeah, that was believable. And then I feel like we've talked about like her being klutzy, and they make the excuse that she fell out a window.
Which again, like, how fast are you falling down the stairs? Because like I have fallen down a flight of stairs, but usually by the time I get to the end of the flight, I'm like bopping on my butt,
You've
like
lost
down
momentum. Yeah,
the stairs. I wouldn't be like, and then whoosh out a glass window.
Yeah. That scene was interesting from the Midnight Sun book, actually, because they had to like get with the hotel people. Yeah,
it was far more interesting in there because they give like a whole like roundabout way. They had to like make a scene at like the hotel where they had to like put blood out and like there were like blood transfusion. It was like a crazy like thing.
Yeah, there was
a
lot.
Like, transport Bella there. Like, how did they make it?
They had to make it look like it actually happened at the hotel. So like that's part of what you don't see in this movie is like all the vampire behind the scenes stuff that like Edward and his family had to do.
And that was really interesting. I think that was my favorite part of that book because I was like, oh my god, that does make sense because everyone just like so readily accepted like, oh, you fell out a window. I was like, oh, we're just going with that. Like,
show me the window.
And, like, this Holiday Inn was just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. Like, no one's investigating this. But no. So I'm glad they gave that context like 10 years later. But better late than never, I guess. She was probably like, I'm getting a lot of questions.
Well, she tried to write the book like way sooner, remember? And then it got leaked on the internet, like somebody leaked it, and she got pissed, and so she just like published on her website, like the part of the book that she had already written, which was literally right up until the meadow scene, which was devastating for 14-year-old me. And then she stopped writing it for like 10 years because she was like mad, and then she published it a couple years ago.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, get over it. It's fine.
Okay.
Not you, Stephanie
Yeah.
Meyer. Boo-hoo, Stephanie Meyer.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Like,
Get
you
over
don't
yourself.
get to throw a tantrum.
Agreed.
Just write your damn book.
You're not that important.
Great, you got a
It's
whole
gonna
like
sell
movie
out. Like, come on.
sensation. Okay.
That's what she was writing on the diner counter. Midnight Sun, rumor has it.
Okay,
Oh my
so
God.
the movie ends with prom. So Bella goes to prom.
She's dressed inappropriately for prom.
Yeah, that was the worst prom outfit I've ever seen in my life.
With leggings under
Converse.
it.
And like a
Leggings was
sweater, like this little like cardigan that she like was wearing. I was like, where are you going?
Nope.
I think it was like actually 22 degrees when they were filming that scene outside, like in the middle of the night.
Okay, but it's called
she's wearing
acting. Like you are in a movie.
Yeah.
Rosalie lost all her hair. Like, come on, you can go without your leggings for a night. It's really not that bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I assumed it was just because she's like quirky and like not like other girls that she was
Trying
like
to be cool.
Yeah, but also she's like, I hate wearing dresses. I'm like, literally suck it up.
Wear a suit then.
Yeah, do something. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. She goes out of her way to be different, I think. And that's, you know.
Well, they could have put her in a pretty dress because they said it came from Alice.
I know.
So, like,
and like Alice has
could have
taste,
given her a pretty dress.
Is the thing. Alice has been around
Yes.
for like centuries, right? Like, isn't she like
No.
Probably has a closet full of amazing things to wear.
Yeah. And like if she can predict the future,
Or,
she
I
would
don't
have
know,
known.
buy a dress.
Yeah. And like if she could predict the future, she would have known that Bella was gonna get made fun of for wearing her stupid ass outfit.
Also, like, just the weird, that scene is kind of weird, like when they're on the dance floor and Bella like makes that move where she like takes her like underneath her chin, you know? Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
a little
like the
Oh, no,
waving
she's talking
that
about
she
the
does to her
boobs.
friends.
Oh,
Like,
her boob thing.
oh,
She's talking
Yeah.
about Jessica's boobs. Because remember, Jessica was like, does this make my boobs
And
look
she's
good?
like,
And she's like,
oh, I never got that.
Yeah.
That was weird to me.
Also, she's
because it's the only time Kristen
Okay.
shows any like personality of like being a normal person. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Is she
Yeah,
like being
okay.
chummy with someone? Unrelatable.
Okay, and then Bella's like again an idiot. She thinks Edward's about to like bite her in the middle of the prom.
and change her. After she just felt how awful it felt getting bit, she's like, I'm ready right here. I can control myself. Let's go.
Dumb. So
She's
dumb.
straight crazy.
This girl's nuts.
Yeah.
Also, Jacob does make an appearance,
And we love
at the
it.
prom. Tries to tell her to break up with her boyfriend. He
She's
in the
like,
book.
tell him to pay up.
In the book, he's supposed to like cut in and dance with her. I thought it was a shame that they didn't do that, but
If Taylor Lautner came in and told me to break up with my boyfriend, I would. I would listen to anything Taylor Lautner
yes,
said.
sir. What else?
And like, what else you got?
Yeah.
But yeah, damn.
and then the very last thing we see is Victoria at the prom.
Which, yeah, why is she at prom?
She's keeping close tabs on Bella.
Weird. Also, who's chaperoning this
Still
prom
that
is
girl
just
woman.
letting like these 25-year-old women like waltz in, acting like they're like that's predator behavior. And I know that technically she is a predator, like literally hunting Bella, but like maybe we get some better supervision at these school dances in the future. Who knows? Again, there's only like 2,000 people in Forks. Like I'm pretty sure we should like know who's coming to prom.
Who's who? Yeah.
It's not that
Yeah, I
hard.
agree.
But
I agree.
okay.
Well, that is all that I have on our list of things to talk about. I don't know if there's anything that I missed that y'all wanted to make sure we mentioned.
I did have one thing.
Okay.
When they show Bella like moving into her dad's house for the first time, they show her bedroom and he talks about the bedding that he got for her.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like your bedding, Courtney. The
Which
purple.
bedding?
It's like you like purple.
Yeah. I don't think I have that bedding anymore.
I swear, but you had it at one point, and I was like, "That is Courtney's bedding."
I did have a quilt that like kind of looked like that. Yeah. It wasn't that
That's all I have though.
Okay. Well, so I identify with with Bella.
I had
Big Edward girlies.
just one other thing. He at one point like pays her a compliment. Edward pays Bella a compliment, and he's like, "You're like my own personal brand of heroin." And I was like, "That's the only compliment I will be accepting for the rest of my life." That's apparently just the most romantic thing in the world. Like, this guy's been alive again for like 100 years, and that's the most romantic thing he could pull out of his brain. And honestly,
Also, how does he know? Does heroin even affect vampires?
I feel like that's not possible. It's a needle, right? He can't get like beat up. Like, I'm like, I don't know. How is this man shooting up heroin? He's like, speaking of unknowns, like he doesn't even, and it just ruins it. It's so not romantic. And he also has
I think that's a direct line from the book.
It is, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
So that's upsetting. And he also has some vegetarian slander in there where he's like, it's like eating tofu your whole life. It's like you'll eat, but you'll never actually be satisfied. And I was like, oh, that's bold.
Many people like tofu.
I was like, that's so sad. Like, wow, you just totally ostracized an entire group of human population. But like, go off, I guess. Whatever. True. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, now it is time to rate this movie. And Cassie, we're going to start with your rating. So just as a reminder, we use Letterboxd rating scale, which is from 0 to 5 stars with 5 or half-star increments.
Okay. So I think you can look at this rating in like one of 2 ways. And I'm choosing to rate it on enjoyability of like watching this movie. So I'm not rating it from like a critically acclaimed aspect or like whatever. And with that in mind, I give it 4 stars. I think that this is a really, really fun movie to watch. I love watching this movie, so I was really excited to watch it. I'll probably watch it again sometime within the next year. I've watched it like pretty consistently, like once every year, once every other. Like, it's like a good movie. It's like fun. And I mean good movie with an asterisk of like, it's a terribly shitty made movie, but like
but it makes you happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy because it's silly and dumb. And like, I'm just like, ew, I can't believe this movie is real, but like, I want to watch it again. It's like watching The Room. It's like modern day The Room. So
I don't think that's relatable at all.
I think I have the same amount of enjoyment watching it. It's just fun. I like to watch it with friends. I would 100% watch it again, and I recommend it widely.
Okay, Liz.
So I give this a 4.5 stars out of 5.
Okay.
Twilight is up there with my favorite movies. I, like you, Cassie, will watch it over and over and over again and never get tired of it. It isn't my favorite of the Twilight series. So the Twilight series is my favorite movie series. I love all of the movies. I don't love them all equally. This one's not my favorite one, but it is up there. And I think just because it was so exciting when it came out, it's like still exciting. Like, I can still watch it and still be like, oh my God, like what's about to happen? Even though I know literally every line, like it just has so much value for me that it has to be like 4.5 is like the lowest I could give it.
Okay. I give this movie 3 stars. And I think my Letterboxd rating says something like, or the review says something like, this movie is objectively bad.
100%.
But I love it so much just because it's like a Twilight movie. And like exactly like you said, Cassie, like I get so much enjoyment from watching this movie. Like I was watching this movie, I was like enthralled. I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. But I think I get really upset watching this movie in particular because I feel like this one really highlights for me like how much creative liberty they took from the adaptation from the book that I didn't like. Like I thought there was some stuff that they changed that I was like, they made this like worse than it was in the book. Like it was bad enough in the book and like you've somehow like made it worse. And yeah, but like 3 stars is like a pretty solid movie for how objectively bad this movie is.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's a fun one to watch, and I feel like that's what matters.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I'm not here to watch movies for like a good time. I'm not like, I don't know. It's not that serious.
It's averaging out just below a 4 stars. Like I think it's doing pretty good.
That's pretty, yeah. Pretty reasonable.
I agree. Okay. Well, that is all we have. Cassie, we're going to say bye to you, but I just wanted to say before you go, you were such an incredible guest. We loved your takes. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. I will talk about Twilight anytime. So hit me up.
Yay. Oh my gosh, we'll do if we need a part 2. All right. Bye, Cassie.
Bye.
So now we're just going to tell you how you can find us. So if you're interested in finding the podcast, you can find us on all of our social media. So we have Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at bcriticspodcast.
And we want to say thank you so much for checking us out. We'd appreciate it if you could leave us a rating or review. And if you really like what we're doing here, be sure to subscribe and follow. You can find the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
And then also check out our website, bcritics.com, or find all these links on our Linktree in the episode show notes below.
That's it. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.